ठीक है, शुरू कर दीजिए।
हाँ जी। So good morning to all of you. Our today's discussion is on a very emerging area, that is trade secrets and undisclosed information. I said emerging area, so definitely you can easily understand that much more scope is there in advancement of this branch of law. As far as Indian law is concerned, so definitely at the very outset, I would like to tell you that we don't have any specific law on these issues. But being part of certain international instruments, definitely we are to abide with the rules framed by those international instruments. And that's why we try to protect these two important aspects, though they are somehow rights under our existing legal system. So whatever law we have, we try to protect this trade secret and undisclosed information. They are part of intellectual property. We are a member of WTO, and you all know that 29 agreements were entered into. When this WTO was accorded by international community, total 29 agreements were entered into. And one of them was TRIPS agreement. So 1st January 1995, that was the day at Marrakech, we became signatory to this important international instrument in the field of intellectual property rights, that is TRIPS agreement, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. TRIPS. Popularly, it is known as TRIPS. So, TRIPS agreement also recognizes WTO also. Whenever we say TRIPS, it refers to WTO because TRIPS is part and parcel of WTO. So, this trade secret, definitely this particular issue was well recognized by this international treaty, and that is TRIPS agreement. This is multilateral agreement. This is not bilateral or any other kind of treaty or agreement. This is a multilateral agreement, and in that multilateral agreement, so definitely we follow the rules prescribed by TRIPS agreement. First of all, you need to know what is this trade secret, what is this undisclosed information. So definitely, I would like to tell you briefly about these two things, because knowing the concept is very, very important. So once you know the concept, the basic fundamental concept, you would appreciate the other issues involved in it. So whenever we talk about this trade secret, so trade secrets, they are intellectual property. I have already told you, they are intellectual properties on confidential information. So that can be sold, that can be licensed. So both the things are possible. So selling of this intellectual property in the name of trade secret, and licensing of this intellectual property in the name of trade secret. So definitely, first of all, you need to understand what is this trade secret. So trade secrets are confidential, these trade secrets are intellectual property rights on confidential information, which may be sold or which may be licensed. In general, to qualify as a trade secret, that information must be first commercial. It has commercial value. So commercially valuable because it is secret. This secret information. So you all know the value of a secret information, undisclosed information. So you can easily understand. So they are definitely valuable. That's why they are secret. What you hide, what you keep secret, something which has value. Suppose you have diamonds, so you cannot keep that diamond in open. You always try to keep that diamond in locker. You always try to keep that diamond any place, hidden place. So definitely you don't want others to see your valuable thing, because it's your valuable property and you want to keep it with yourself, and you want to use it. You want to use it. You want to utilize it exclusively. You don't want to share it with anybody else. So you try to many valuable informations that you try to keep with yourself only. You don't want to share it with anybody else, because you know that once I share it with anybody else, so it would lose its value. It would lose its value. As long as it is with me, as long as it is with this group, so definitely we can maintain the very value of this particular information, this particular thing, whatever is. So definitely, this is the first aspect of this trade secret, that information must be commercially valuable because it is secret in making of their burgers. And that's their valuable property. If they share it with everyone, if you make your burger, if you are able to make your burger, that McDonald's burger at your home or that KFC burger at your home of the same taste, why would you visit that KFC? Why would you visit that McDonald's? No question of visiting McDonald's or that KFC. So they would be losing money. They would be losing the profit. So they don't want to lose the profit. That's why they maintain this secrecy. And that's their intellectual property. They take all reasonable steps. They take all reasonable steps. When they give franchise to anyone in any city, so first of all, they enter into that confidentiality agreement. And they don't allow you to make everything. So all the preparations, all things, they are being done at local level or at the franchise level. But the main ingredient that always comes from the company, they enter into the agreement, that always comes from the company, and that makes this particular test. And they don't share it with even with the franchise or even with the employees. So definitely they have to engage people to make that particular spice or that particular ingredient. But whosoever is employed for doing all such activities, they are in contract, they are in confidentiality agreement. That's why this kind of reasonable step. So when you enter into that confidentiality agreement with your employee, when you enter into with that confidentiality agreement with your business partner, I told you that franchise holder and all that. So what it shows, what it signifies, what it signifies. Anybody from your side, what it signifies? Have you heard it or not? What I said? Shaji,
Yes, sir.
क्या शो
Hello.
करता है ये? क्या शो करता है ये? जब कोई कंपनी किसी या कोई ग्रुप ऑफ पर्सन या कोई भी इंडिविजुअल किसी के साथ अगर किसी कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी एग्रीमेंट में इंटर करता है, तो ये क्या सिग्निफाई करता है, क्या शो करता है? कॉन्टेक्स्ट मैंने ऑलरेडी हाईलाइट किया हुआ है, ऑलरेडी डिस्क्राइब किया हुआ है, आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्क्राइब्ड. सो व्हाट इट सिग्निफाइज? बताइए. आई एम अवेटिंग response from your side. किसी के पास कोई रिस्पॉन्स नहीं है.
सर एनी बिजनेस डील विच उसका कॉमर्शियल इम्पैक्ट ऐसा है जो बाहर नहीं जाना चाहिए, तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में
ये सब तो मैंने बता दिया कि वो क्यों मेंटेन करते हैं, सेक्रेसी मेंटेन करना है. जो ये कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी एग्रीमेंट जो वो करते हैं किसी भी एम्प्लॉय के साथ, किसी भी बिजनेस पार्टनर के साथ, तो ये क्या सिग्निफाई करता है मैंने ऑलरेडी बताया हुआ है आपको. जस्ट आई वांट ए रिस्पॉन्स. I have already discussed what it signifies. It simply signifies that a reasonable step has been taken by that rightful holder, and that is essential to make it intellectual property. If that reasonable step has not been taken, it cannot be intellectual property as trade secret, or trade secret as intellectual property. It cannot be. That I wanted to convey. Okay. Have you got it?
Yes, sir, got it.
Further, any unauthorized acquisition, use, or disclosure of such secret information in a manner which is contrary to honest commercial practices by others is always regarded as unfair practice and a violation of the trade secret protection. That's why I emphasized on issue of rightful holder. If you are in possession of someone else's information, if you are in possession of someone else's valuable thing, even though you have taken reasonable steps to make it secret, it cannot be your intellectual property. Are you getting? It cannot be a trade secret. But sometimes that's why I have already emphasized that if you are rightful holder of that information and you have taken reasonable step to make it secret, then definitely it becomes your intellectual property. It is a trade secret as intellectual property. That's why I'm to clarify again that any unauthorized acquisition, any unauthorized use, any unauthorized disclosure of this kind of secret information in a manner contrary to honest commercial practices by others is regarded as unfair practice. You can also say that it's violation of the trade secret protection. Trade secret protection. So suppose I have taken all reasonable steps to make my thing secret and all that, and somehow you got this information and you have unauthorizedly disclosed it or used it, that secret information, and that is definitely not as per the norms of honest commercial practices. You all know what honest commercial practices are there. Some customary things are there, and everybody who is in that trade, they used to follow it. There is no legislation, there is no rules, there is no bylaw, and all those who are in trade, this kind of trade, they follow that thing. So it becomes a convention. You all know what is convention. It becomes a convention, a customary thing, and they follow it. Whosoever joins, they come to know that this kind of thing is to be followed, and they start following that thing. It happens. So you have disclosed unauthorizedly, you have used unauthorizedly, you have acquired unauthorizedly in a particular manner. And what is that manner? That manner is contrary to honest commercial practices. If that manner is not contrary to honest commercial practices, then it won't be a violation. It cannot be said as violation. It can be said as violation only when it is acquired unauthorizedly, used unauthorizedly, disclosed unauthorizedly in a manner which is contrary to honest commercial practices. Honest commercial practices. Then only it can be a violation. Then only it can be regarded as unfair practice. Unfair practice. And you all know, if something is unfair, if something is violation, definitely the remedy is available to that rightful holder. The legal remedy is available to that rightful holder. Because being a student of law of torts, you might have studied ubi jus ibi remedium. What is ubi jus ibi remedium? Can anybody explain ubi jus ibi remedium? You might have studied in your law of torts.
Yes, sir. Where there is
Why
rights,
might?
there is
Why might? Definitely you have been taught this ubi jus, because we cannot start our law of torts without explaining or without discussing ubi jus ibi remedium.
So, sir, where there is right, there will be remedy. So,
Yes, absolutely correct, Shuklaji. Absolutely correct. So there is a right. Whose right? What kind of right? Legal right. So when you are possessor of a legal right and that has been violated, then only you have the remedy. You cannot seek remedy for someone else's right. Though exceptions are there, I am not denying. Exceptions are there. But in general, you cannot seek remedy for someone else's right. You can seek remedy only for exercise of your right, when your right has been violated. Legal right, fundamental right, any recognized right. That is interest, the will of that person. And you all know about the remedies available in your law, in your constitution, and what kind of, it depends on the nature of the right. And I told you that, yes, exceptions are there where you seek remedy for someone else's right. I can give you example of PIL, and that is a liberalization of the locus standi. Because whenever this issue arises, locus standi. So when you have locus, when there is violation of your right, you have locus standi. You can stand before court of law. You are in that position to stand before court of law. But when you don't have this locus, even you can stand before court of law in certain exceptional circumstances. I have given you example of public interest. In case of public interest, definitely it can be done. But where we talk about this valuable information, and I have told you that this has been used unauthorizedly, this has been used unauthorizedly, disclosed unauthorizedly, acquired unauthorizedly in a manner contrary to honest commercial practices by anybody, others, then definitely it can be regarded as an unfair practice and violation of the trade secret protection that is afforded to that rightful holder. I'm taking a break of 1 minute. Excuse me, 1 minute.
जब तक सर आ रहे हैं, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है तुम लोगों से, कहाँ गायब रहते हो? कोई भी आंसर ही नहीं करता है। क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा रहे हैं सर, बता रहे हैं, सुना तो करो कम से कम।
मैम एक ही लोग आंसर करेंगे क्या? ज्वाइन तो सभी लोग करते हैं ना।
वही मैं सबके लिए कह रही हूँ, मैं
तो
केवल तुम्हारे लिए नहीं कह
तो
रही हूँ।
मैम सभी को आंसर करना चाहिए ना, एक ही बोलता रहेगा।
केवल दिव्यांश का आंसर आता है, अवनीश का आंसर आता है, ना कृतिका है, ना मोना है, ना स्मृति है, ना समरेंद्र है। ऐसे तो तुम लोग ज्वाइन ही मत किया करो, ज्यादा बेहतर है। अटेंडेंस लगाने का कोई मतलब थोड़ी ना, जब आपको समझ में कुछ नहीं आ रहा है तो सुन नहीं रहे हैं आप लोग। तो आप लोग के लिए इतनी अच्छी अच्छी फैकल्टीज बुला करके हम लोग क्लासेस करवा रहे हैं, इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी ना है कि हम लोग कराते ही रहेंगे। 4 क्लासेस बच्ची हैं आप लोग की, अपनी तीन क्लासेस में थोड़ा सा कोशिश कीजिए कंसंट्रेशन मेंटेन करने की। ओके मिस स्मृति?
पूरा सुन रहे हैं मैम, मतलब अब एक ही व्यक्ति कहाँ तक रिप्लाई करेगा?
कोशिश करो अपनी, शायद ये लोग तो तुम जानते ही हो, कोई भी आंसर करने वाला नहीं है आज। यू आर द टॉपर वन। तुमसे ही थोड़ी सी उम्मीदें हैं मेरे को, और तो इन लोग से तो है नहीं, पांचों से बेकार लोग हैं।
विल ट्राई मैम।
ओके, जब तक सर आते हैं आप लोग थोड़ा सा सोचिए क्या पढ़ाया है सर ने।
Okay, so I was talking about this trade secret and what exactly qualifies as a trade secret. I was highlighting this aspect, and I told you that it must have commercial value because it is secret and it is known to limited group of people, and reasonable steps have been taken by the rightful holder. And in what circumstances we consider or we regard it as unfair practice or violation of the trade secret protection. So that I highlighted. Now, coming to next aspect of it, because you all know that in general these confidential informations, the business informations which you provide or which is provided by an enterprise uh, in this competitive era, when this kind of information is shared unauthorizedly, so it's going to harm a lot to that enterprise. It's going to harm a lot to that entity, to that person. So that's why they need a protection. That's why they need protection of this valuable thing, protection of this property, intellectual property, a trade secret. Now, what types of trade secrets are there? That's very important. What kind of trade secrets are there? Because this trade secret encompasses both the technical information, definitely the information concerning the manufacturing processes, the information concerning the uh, pharmaceutical test data, because pharma industry, you all know that so many competitors are there. I can give you example of Cipla and Vaxi. They try to manufacture the medicine to cure a particular disease, and there is a race. Whosoever will make this medicine as early as possible, that company will be making huge profit. You all have experienced in this recent pandemic the making of vaccine. Large number of companies, a large number of organizations, they were indulged in they were involved in making of research and development of this important COVID-19 vaccine, and whosoever will come first will make the profit. more and more profit. So we all have seen, we all have witnessed the huge demand of this COVID-19 vaccine. So all were new that if we make it fast, so we'll make huge profit. That's why there was a race among all vaccine manufacturers. They engaged huge team of scientists to develop this COVID-19 vaccine. So in pharmaceutical industry also, this kind of technical information we find. Sometimes in area of, I can give you example, in area of what we call this real estate industry or fashion industry, that any kind of engineering work in all three sectors I have said right now. You all know the importance of designs. You all know the importance of drawings. So designs, drawings, definitely they are technical information. They are technical information. Then I can give you example of your software industry. Software industry. You all know TCS. You all know this Microsoft. You all know Google. You all know Accenture. Many big companies are there, and they are competing with each other. So as far as their technical information is concerned, so that information lies in computer programs. So all these examples I have shared to make you understand the technical information. This is one part, technical information. Then a different kind of part is there relating to same kind of thing, that pharmaceutical test data, that manufacturing process, that drawing, that design, that computer program. Next is the commercial information. Suppose you have developed a computer program. Suppose you have made a design. Suppose you have conducted survey and you have collected the samples and you have analyzed and you have that pharmaceutical test data. Suppose you have a very good manufacturing process, etc., etc. But ultimately, it has to pass through one test, that is commercial information. So sometimes distribution method, sometimes you have a very good list of suppliers, you have very good list of clients, you have some strategies how to make our product more and more sellable. You have some advertising skills, how to marketing skills, advertising skills, how to market our product. So that makes you different from others. And that definitely gives you the edge in the market. And in this competitive world, everybody wants to get that edge. It's all about the race of getting that edge. If you acquire that edge above all your competitors, definitely you will be the pioneer in this field and you will be making huge profit. So that's why it is always said that this trade secret encompasses both the technical information as well as commercial information. And that's why a trade secret may be also made up of a combination of elements, and each of which by itself is in public domain. But where this combination, which is kept secret, provides a competitive advantage that I have already highlighted. So definitely in this competitive world, there is a race to get it fast. If not earliest, then only you will be able to stand in the market. You will be able to make your product more and more sellable. You will be able to earn more and more profit. So Some other examples are also there of information that may be protected by trade secrets. I can give you. Sometimes this is all economic world. You all know money rules the world. It is said money rules the world, though it is not correct in every perspective or in every sense. But nowadays you all know the importance of money. It's all about money. So financial information, that's also very, very important. Just a minute. Financial information. Sometimes formulas. Nowadays, you all know, I gave you example of Burger King and all that. So recipes, the recipes, the source codes, in case of software and computer programs and all that. Source codes. So many examples are there that may be protected by this trade secret. So you can easily understand now the value of this trade secret. So I highlighted technical information, I highlighted commercial information, I highlighted some things which are made of both. Technical is also there, commercial is also there. It is a combination of these both elements. And financial information, formulas, recipes, source codes, so many kind of protections are there. Are you getting my point? Now question arises here when you understand these are the kinds, these are the types of all trade secrets and all that. Now this basic question arises that what kind of protection does this trade secret offer? What kind of protection actually it offers? So here I can say that it depends on your legal system, what kind of legal system you have, what kind of law you have. That's very important. If you have a specific law, definitely it can be dealt under that specific law. And I've already told you that TRIPS agreement and that is part and parcel of WTO. So when it is part and parcel of WTO and large number of countries are member, so different legal systems, they might have developed their own law. Because we also amended our law extensively. I can tell you, we overhauled our law, entire legal system after entering into that WTO TRIPS agreement. To becoming member of the WTO and to abide with the rules prescribed, the minimum standards. TRIPS agreement actually prescribes the minimum standard. So this is the minimum standard and you are to comply with. You are to comply with the minimum standards prescribed by the WTO, by the TRIPS agreement. So minimum standards of the rights of intellectual property right holders. So you maintain at least this much of protection. Above it, you are free. But this is minimum. Just like when you offer subscription and all that. So what you say? जब भी आप बचपन में कभी किए होंगे, चंदा वगैरह इकट्ठा किए हैं कभी? सरस्वती पूजा या कोई आप लोग अगर नॉर्थ इंडिया से होंगे तो कभी बचपन में चंदा वगैरह इकट्ठा किए हैं किसी काम के लिए? दुर्गा पूजा, सरस्वती पूजा या किसी भी चीज के लिए? Have you collected subscription?
सर बहुत बारी
Yes, sir.
अभी भी
किए है ना? तो उसके लिए क्या करते हैं आप लोग? रसीद वगैरह छपवाते हैं ना?
हाँ सर, जनरली तो रसीद छपवा के ही करते हैं कलेक्शन।
बिल्कुल। अगर आपको उसको ऑथेंटिक वे में कलेक्ट करना है तो आप रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन करना है, जो भी कलेक्शन है, तो आप उसकी एक रिसीट जरूर रखते हैं और देते हैं। और उसका एक कॉपी जो उसका काउंटर फॉइल है वो आप अपने पास रखते हैं, एंड क्योंकि आपका पूरा कैलकुलेशन होता है। तो मान लीजिए उसको रसीद को बनाने में भी तो आपका कुछ खर्च हुआ होगा ना? तो इस वजह से आप क्या करते हैं? किसी से जब कलेक्शन करते हैं तो आप बोलते हैं कि भाई मिनिमम 10
मिनिमम फिक्स करते हैं।
मिनिमम एक आप फिक्स करते हैं 5 रुपए, 2 रुपए, कुछ भी हो सकता है ये मिनिमम। पर्पस को ध्यान में रखकर 2 रुपए, 5 रुपए, 10 रुपए, जो भी हुआ, इतना आपको देना है। इसके ऊपर क्या देना है वो आप नहीं बताते हैं, क्योंकि आपको तो चाहिए ज्यादा, जितना ज्यादा पैसा मिल जाए। Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Connection loss हुआ था. So I was giving you example of that subscription. The minimum subscription you fix 10 rupees. Above it depends on the donor. डोनर के ऊपर आप छोड़ देते हैं कि आपकी जितनी इच्छा या जितनी शक्ति, जितना सामर्थ्य, आप उतना दीजिए. So that depends on the capacity of the donor. He decides to give you 50, sometimes 10 only, that is minimum, sometimes 1000, sometimes 5000. In all cases you are satisfied because you have got that minimum 10 from each one. Okay, उसके ऊपर जितना मिल जाए आपकी खुशी बढ़ती जाती है. चलो 100 मिल गया, हाँ 1000 मिल गया, 10,000 मिल गया, आप बहुत खुश हो जाते हैं. होता है ना ऐसा? Yes, and same thing is provided by the TRIPS agreement. These are the minimum, and each member country is to afford this minimum level of protection to IP right holders. आप इतना minimum protection उनको देंगे to maintain that uniformity throughout the world. कि कभी आपको, because this is a globalized world. This is globalized world, and I am to explore my product, I am to explore my intellectual property, not in one territory, rather in many territories. So when I don't see any protection, suppose in one territory, why should I go there? मान लीजिए आप जिस शहर में रहते हैं और कोई ऐसा एरिया हो जहां पे आपको डर बना रहता है कि यहाँ जाएंगे तो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर नहीं है, चोरी हो जाएगी, मेरी बाइक चोरी हो जाएगी, या मुझे लूट लिया जाएगा. आप उस जगह पर जाने से बचते हैं या नहीं बचते हैं? उस रास्ते से जाने से बचते हैं या नहीं बचते हैं? आप बताइए.
बिल्कुल सर.
बिल्कुल बचते हैं. Same thing applies to any intellectual property right holder. If I know that when I use my intellectual property in Pakistan, there is no protection. Anybody can violate my intellectual property and there will be no remedy. And large number of violation will be there. Why will I go to Pakistan to explore my intellectual property? You tell me. No question. If I know that if I exploit my intellectual property in America, their law and order and their law is very efficient, their law is very strong, and if anybody violates my intellectual property, I'll have this kind of remedy, this level of remedy, so I'll be protected there fully. So I become over excited to visit USA with my intellectual property. Yes, I can explore my intellectual property in USA. And before WTO, lot of indifferences were there. With regard to protection. And that's why that it was actually varying from one country to another. And to maintain that uniformity, the whole world community, they negotiated, and that negotiation took place for many years. And after many years negotiation, they reached to some kind of settlement, and that was in the form of WTO and this TRIPS agreement. So minimum standard prescribed by that WTO. This is minimum, and you all afforded to right holders. And this trade secret got recognized. This trade secret got recognized there. So I was telling you that the countries, the members of this WTO TRIPS agreement, so they decided to have this kind of protection in the form of trade secret, and that was based on the notion that this protection against unfair competitive practices, unfair competition, and definitely that should include the protection for undisclosed information, the trade secret. And this TRIPS agreement makes reference to many prior existing protection against this unfair competition. It is not a thing that this was evolved or this was came into the being for the first time in that WTO or in that TRIPS agreement. No, in many countries this was being afforded, this was being provided, this kind of protection was being provided. I can give you example of that. ट्रिप्स एग्रीमेंट में तो था ही ये प्रोटेक्शन की बात. उसके पहले पेरिस कन्वेंशन था, वहाँ भी इसके बारे में चर्चा हुई थी, और बहुत सारे और भी जो इंस्टांसेस हैं, जो डोमेस्टिक लॉज हैं, वहाँ पे हुई थी. सो बहुत सारे कंट्रीज ने तो इस नॉर्म्स को कंप्लाई करने के लिए स्पेसिफिक लेजिस्लेशन बना लिया. लेकिन भारत में, इन इंडिया, वी हैव येट नॉट मेड एनी स्पेसिफिक लॉ टू प्रोटेक्ट दिस trade secret, the intellectual property. So in actually in Article 39 of the TRIPS agreement, that TRIPS agreement, and Article 39 of the TRIPS agreement, that deals with this trade secret, undisclosed information. And being signatory, we follow in India, we follow that norms which is prescribed by this what we call trade secret provided by TRIPS agreement. I can give you one more instance that this protection against unfair competition, and that was actually provided earlier also in Article 10 B's, 10 and BIS, 10 B's of Paris Convention 1967. So that kind of protection was already provided, but we introduced a new flavor to it. We introduced a new kind of aspect to it by this WTO, this TRIPS agreement. And it's not only given to companies, it's not only given to this entity and all that. So any a natural person or any legal person, they shall have the possibility of preserving information lawfully. So whatever information is there and that is within their control from being disclosed to or acquired by or used by any other person without their consent, and that I have already told you, the manner is very important. That is contrary to honest commercial practices. So if that manner is contrary to honest commercial practices, so definitely that kind of thing is not allowed. I hope you have understood this much. Then I can proceed to some other aspect.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question arises that what should be the method? You always talk about that how it can be protected. So definitely it can be protected by several ways, several means. And one more question that is very important, that I said that what kind of protection actually it offers. So definitely the trade secret information or this should not be violated. This should not be circulated without consent. It should not be used without consent. It should not be disclosed without consent. So in general, these unfair practices in respect of secret information, uh, uh, either industrial information, commercial. You might have heard about the uh, breach of contract. That's very popular term. We all law students we come across with this term, breach of contract. So when there is a confidentiality agreement, a contract is there. So if somebody violates the terms and conditions of that contract, so definitely it amounts to breach of contract. Okay. Sometimes you are enter into the agreement with your employee, that confidentiality agreement is there, and if a violation takes place, that is breach of the confidence that is reposed in that employee, a breach takes place. Are you getting my point? And in commercial area, in commercial practices, so you all must be knowing about espionage. So espionage that takes place. So these kind of activities, they are considered as unfair practices. So breach of contract is unfair practice. Breach of confidence is unfair practice. This espionage is unfair practice. And this the right holder of this trade secret. So you all know that he has his own limitations, he has his own resources, he has his own restrictions. So definitely he cannot stop everybody. He cannot stop others from using the same technical or commercial information. But definitely he can take some steps. He can rely on some kind of remedies to prevent this kind of thing to happen. So if it is required or developed this information independently through his own research and development, on the basis of sometimes even you get some information sometimes on the basis, it's very interesting part. And I can give you a very good example on it. In India, it happens, and in Indian gray market, it happens extensively. So sometimes you get the information legally. It happens. You are supposed to get this information legally. Suppose you are in a contract, and on the basis of that contract, you get this information. This is one thing. Sometimes you create information independently. It's your research and development, and you create this information, and this is with you. It happens. It happens or not? Sometimes you do market analysis and you collect certain data and you create information that is with you. But sometimes you get the information on the basis of reverse engineering. Have you heard about this term, reverse engineering?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Reverse engineering.
यस सर, सुना है जी। अभी सर ये टर्म चर्चा में रहा है कि इंडिया के एक मिसाइल जो है पाकिस्तान में चली गई थी, तो उसने कहा था कि इसका रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करके इसका नया मिसाइल हम बना लेंगे।
यस 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 यस, यू गॉट द पॉइंट। ये भी कहा जाता है कि भारत में कोई भी आप जेट भी दे दीजिए अमेरिका का, तो यहाँ के जो लोकल जो लोग हैं वो इतने टैलेंटेड हैं कि रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करके उस तरह का दूसरा जेट बना देंगे। बस उनको आप मटेरियल मिल जाए तो वो दूसरा जेट बना देंगे रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग के बेसिस पर। इतने एक्सपर्ट लोग हैं। तो मेनी टाइम्स यू गेट दिस इंफॉर्मेशन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट reverse engineering. So I can tell you that sometimes you get positive protection, sometimes you get the defensive protection. But as far as this trade secret is concerned, so definitely here is no question of getting that defensive protection, because it's not possible for that owner to have the check, have the control everywhere, and to stop everybody from using that information. But definitely he can have a good kind of protection, and that can be afforded by our law by our legal system. But the question here is, what should be the preventive measures? Definitely, preventive measures are required in such a scenario. So preventive measures to protect the legal secret against any kind of theft, against any kind of misappropriation, against any kind of unauthorized disclosure or unauthorized use or acquisition. So you all know we rely on certain things. Like I can give you example. Like first of all, that is non-disclosure contracts. Non-disclosure contracts. So you all know that whenever you enter into any sensitive business or in any sensitive sector, and where a lot of confidential informations are there, so they always insist you to enter into that non-disclosure agreement. This is popularly known as NDA. This is a contract, non-disclosure contract, but popularly known as NDA. Have you heard it? Non-disclosure agreement. Non-disclosure agreement with employees, non-disclosure agreement with a business partner, non-disclosure agreement with any entity with whom you are doing your business or you are dealing with. So you all must have heard this non-disclosure agreement, a contract. Both the parties, they signed this non-disclosure agreement, and with the help of this non-disclosure agreement, definitely you can prevent this kind of disclosure of the confidential information. So your employee must not disclose that confidential information. Your business partner must not disclose that confidential information. So it's not possible to have check everywhere. So to control it, you can have this NDA, this non-disclosure agreement at the beginning itself, at the outset itself. First, you enter into this kind of agreement, and then you can prevent your employee, your business partner from disclosing that confidential information. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes this is very interesting part. Sometimes you enter into a very special kind of contract. This is a kind of preventive measure. I am highlighting preventive measure, how to prevent this kind of violation, this kind of breach. You enter into non-compete agreement. Non-compete agreement. Have you heard about it? Non-compete agreement.
Yes, sir.
अभी आपको एक एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं इस पर, आप समझ जाइएगा। धीरू भाई अंबानी के डेथ के बाद ये रिलायंस इंडस्ट्री देश की सबसे बड़ी इंडस्ट्री है, सबको पता है, और ये धीरू भाई अंबानी ने एस्टैब्लिश किया था, लेकिन उनके बाद उनके बच्चों में कुछ कन्फ्लिक्ट हुआ था, अनिल अंबानी और मुकेश अंबानी में हुआ था ना?
जी सर।
और ये लोग सक्सेसर्स थे धीरू भाई अंबानी के, दे सक्सीडेड द एंटायर स्टेट ऑफ धीरू भाई अंबानी। उसमें इनकी मदर भी थी, कोकिला बेन। तो 3 शेयर होल्डर्स थे उसमें बेसिकली, अनिल, मुकेश एंड कोकिला। तो उनका एक सेटलमेंट हुआ था, फैमिली सेटलमेंट हुआ था, आप सबको याद होगा। वो कंपनी घाटे में चली गई, वो फेल हो गई कंपनी, आज की डेट में नहीं है उसका कोई भी सर्विस, अब जियो है। अब तो पहले जो फेल हुई वो किसकी थी? छोटे भाई की कंपनी थी, और अभी जो जियो है, जो सबसे सक्सेसफुल है भारत में, वो बड़े भाई की कंपनी है। तो मुकेश सन वायलेशन ऑफ दैट नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट जो हमारे बीच में हुआ था आफ्टर द डेथ ऑफ आवर फादर धीरू भाई अंबानी। सो नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट में क्या होता है? है, एम्प्लॉयर आस्क द एम्प्लॉइज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, यू आर बाइंड विद दैट। लेकिन जैसे ही आप कंपनी छोड़ते हैं, कई बार ऐसा देखा गया है, कंपनी छोड़ा और फिर पेरेंट कंपनी के कंपनी, क्यों? बिकॉज यू हैव ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन, यू हैव ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन। 10 साल काम कर लिया, अब इतना एक्सपीरियंस हो गया आपको सब पता है कि क्या है, क्या बिजनेस मॉड्यूल है, क्या स्ट्रेटेजी है, क्या मटेरियल यूज करते हैं, क्या ऑपरेशनल एक्टिविटीज है, क्या मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस है, क्या स्ट्रेटेजी है, क्या फॉर्मूला है, यू हैव ऑल द कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन। सो यू स्टार्ट योर ओन बिजनेस। आपने सुना होगा, कई बार होता है, उसी कंपनी का एम्प्लॉय था और बाहर निकल के फिर अपनी कंपनी बना दी और उससे भी बड़ा वो बन गया। हैव यू हर्ड इट और नॉट? सुना है कि नहीं सुना है?
यस सर।
ऐसा होता
Yes,
है।
sir.
So just to avoid this kind of thing, because you have to maintain your secrecy, you have to preserve your valuable information, you have to protect your trade secret। तो उस trade secret को बचाने के लिए आप हर तरह के उपाय करते हैं। तो जब तक वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में है, एग्रीमेंट में है, एम्प्लॉय है, आपका बिजनेस पार्टनर है, कई बार बिजनेस पार्टनर में एक टर्म के लिए हुआ, 5 साल के लिए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, 6 साल के लिए है, तो 6 साल के बाद एक थ्रेट बना रहेगा कि अरे 6 साल में जितना भी उसने इंफॉर्मेशन गैदर किया, he will use it against me, आपके अगेंस्ट में यूज कर सकता है। That's why they insist, that's why they insist, all employers, all business people, they insist their partners or their employees to enter into that non-compete agreement। और पर्पस क्या है नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट में साइन करवाने का उनका? टू प्रिवेंट देम फ्रॉम एंटरिंग इन कंपटीशन। कि आपके कंपटीशन में जैसे क्या था कि अगर टेलीकम्युनिकेशन में अगर अनिल को मिला तो मुकेश टेलीकम्युनिकेशन में बिजनेस नहीं करेंगे, यही था वो नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट। तो जैसे ही मुकेश ने जियो लॉन्च किया तो अनिल ने लीज किया, लेकिन उसका काउंटर मुकेश ने ये कह कर दिया कि जब तक तुम्हारी कंपनी फ्लरिश कर रही थी, जब तक तुम्हारी कंपनी अच्छी चल रही थी, मैं इस बिजनेस में नहीं आया। बट जैसे ही तुम्हारी कंपनी फेल हुई, जैसे ही तुम्हारी कंपनी फेल हुई, अब तुम्हारा कोई एग्जिस्टेंस नहीं रहा इस टेलीकम्युनिकेशन में, तब मैं जियो लेकर आया हूँ और ये कहीं से भी उस नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट का वायलेशन नहीं है, क्योंकि अब तुम ही नहीं हो इस बिजनेस में। जब तुम ही नहीं हो इस बिजनेस में तो मैं क्यों नहीं हो सकता हूँ? आर यू गेटिंग माय पॉइंट और नॉट?
Yes sir.
Yes,
They
sir.
think that this person would use your confidential information against you, so just to prevent that person कि भाई ये तो गलत हो जाएगा, फिर हमारे अगेंस्ट में यूज करेगा, they rely on नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट। भाई नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट कर लो और इसको रोक दो कि भाई कभी भी तुम हमारे जो जिस बिजनेस में हम हैं, जिस बिजनेस के लिए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, वो बिजनेस तुम नहीं करोगे, तुम जब भी करोगे कोई और बिजनेस करोगे। So definitely this information would not be useful for that other business. So this way they can protect, they can preserve their trade secret, their valuable information. Got it?
सर एक क्वेश्चन है,
आप पूछिए।
नॉन कॉम्पीट एग्रीमेंट के लिए इंडिया में कौन से लॉज हैं, मतलब किस लॉ के अंतर्गत ये करेंगे एग्रीमेंट? क्योंकि इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट में तो ऐसा है नहीं है। मतलब
बहुत ही अच्छा क्वेश्चन आपने पूछ लिया है, और इसके लिए मैं आपको बता दे रहा हूँ कि कई बार ये होता है कि हाँ, इंडियन को अभी हमारे पास कोई स्पेसिफिक लॉ नहीं है ट्रेड सीक्रेट पे, तो हम लोग जो डिफरेंट लॉज हैं हमारे, हम वहाँ से गवर्न होते हैं। हमारे कंट्री में जो डिफरेंट लॉज हैं हम लोग वहाँ से गवर्न होते हैं। जैसे कुछ पोर्शन हम लेते हैं इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट से, ठीक है, कुछ पोर्शन हम लेते हैं कॉपीराइट एक्ट से, कुछ कॉपीराइट लॉ में भी प्रोटेक्शन है। कॉपीराइट लॉ में हम कुछ प्रोटेक्शन लेते हैं, जैसे डेटा वगैरह को लेकर जो प्रोटेक्शन है वो हम कॉपीराइट लॉ से कर लेते हैं। कुछ जो जैसे ये जितने एग्रीमेंट्स वाले पार्ट है, जो कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन को लेकर जो एग्रीमेंट्स वगैरह होते हैं, ये हम कर लेते हैं कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वाले पार्ट से, ठीक है। कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में होता है ना नॉन कॉन्फिडेंशियल एग्रीमेंट और ये सब जो होता है हमारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट में। सो उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट
सर एक प्रोविजन है इंडियन पार्टनरशिप एक्ट का सेक्शन 16B।
हाँ,
तो उसमें कहा गया है कि कोई भी जो पार्टनर होगा तो वो अगर फर्म से अलग हो जाता है तो जो फर्म का जो बिजनेस चल रहा है उसके बराबर कोई बिजनेस नहीं करेगा।
तो यही तो है नॉन कम्पीट बिजनेस एग्रीमेंट, यही तो है, इसी को तो बोलते हैं नॉन कम्पीट एग्रीमेंट। और ये इसको गवर्न करने के वो स्पेसिफिक पार्टनरशिप के लिए है। उसी तरह से बहुत सारे ऐसे एस्पेक्ट्स हैं जो आपको डिफरेंट लॉज में भी आपको प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं और आपको उसको कवर करते हैं। आर यू गेटिंग इट? तो ऐसा नहीं है कि इस तरह के जो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं जो हमारे पास लॉ नहीं है तो वो, लेकिन हाँ, जितने इफेक्टिव वे में हम प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं थे, इफ वी हैव आवर ओन स्पेसिफिक लॉ। दैट्स व्हाई देयर इज अ ह्यूज डिमांड टू हैव दिस कोड in our country, to have this law in our country, a specific law for protection of the trade secret. But still it is in process. I'm not saying that it's not in process. It is in process, and definitely it will be enacted by our legislature. It will be enacted by our legislature. Are you getting it?
Yes.
जैसे मैंने कहा कि इसका जो है मान लो एक एग्जांपल अगर हम दें तो एक केस मैं आपको अगर बताऊं, देखिए इसका कॉपीराइट से भी कनेक्शन है और इससे भी कनेक्शन है, ट्रेड सीक्रेट से भी कहीं ना कहीं से कनेक्शन है। मैंने कहा था ना कई बार, जैसे आपके पास क्या प्रोस्पेक्टिव क्लाइंट्स हैं, क्या आपके पास प्रोस्पेक्टिव जो आपके सप्लायर्स हैं, जो भी लिस्ट ऑफ सप्लायर्स, लिस्ट ऑफ क्लाइंट्स अगर एक साथ आपको मिल जाए, पूरा डेटाबेस ही मिल जाए, तो समझिए कि आप कितना आगे निकल जाएंगे बहुत कम समय में अपने बिजनेस को लेकर। When you start a business, what you want valuable information, valuable database. So कई बार लोग क्या करते हैं ना, डेटाबेस चोरी भी कर लेते हैं। कई बार जो डेटाबेस आपको एक ट्रस्ट के रूप में आपको दिया गया, एक ट्रस्ट था, एक कॉन्फिडेंस था, एक कॉन्फिडेंस के बेसिस पर आपको जो मिला, आपको जो भी डेटाबेस, एंड यू हैव स्टोलन दैट डेटाबेस, मीनिंग देयर बाय ब्रीच ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस इज देयर। आपने ब्रीच किया, उस कॉन्फिडेंस का आपने ब्रीच किया और आपने उसका इस्तेमाल किया, अनऑथराइज्ड यूज किया। So definitely you are liable to be punished. You are liable to be punished. You have violated that honest commercial practice. You have violated that contract. You have violated that norms prescribed for the protection of the trade secret. So if you want, I can share one very good judgment that was delivered by Delhi High Court in 1995. 95 में ये जजमेंट आया था और उस समय आप सोच लीजिए कि इसका क्या वैल्यू रहा होगा। आज के डेट में तो मान लीजिए सब कुछ डिजिटलाइज्ड है, सो इस डिजिटल वर्ल्ड में तो स्टोरेज एंड कलेक्शन ऑफ डेटा एंड क्रिएटिंग डेटाबेस इज वेरी इजी टास्क। अब तो ऑटोमेटिक हो जाता है, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस से हो जाता है। आपने क्या सामान खरीदा था पिछली बार, वो आपको अब बता देते हैं, वो लोग सामान का नाम तक बता देते हैं, क्वांटिटी बता देते हैं, सब स्टोर्ड है। आपको तुरंत सजेस्ट कर देता है कि लास्ट टाइम आपने 6 महीना पहले आपने ये चीज खरीदा था, अब इसका रिफिल कराना जरूरी हो गया है, आप आइए। आपके पास फोन कॉल भी आते होंगे, लास्ट टाइम आपने एसी का सर्विस इस समय कराया था, अब आपका समय पूरा, आपको याद नहीं है, उनको याद है कि आरओ का आपका फिल्टर गंदा हो गया होगा, 3 महीना हो गया है, आरओ सर्विस से बोल रहे हैं। आपको नहीं याद है कि आपके आरओ को सर्विस की जरूरत है, उनको पता है कि अभी आपके आरओ के सर्विस की जरूरत है। इंश्योरेंस आपका एक्सपायर हो रहा है 15 मार्च को, आपको नहीं याद है, लेकिन 50 इंश्योरेंस कंपनी को याद है कि आपका इंश्योरेंस 15 मार्च को खत्म हो रहा है। वो आपको लगातार हम करना शुरू कर देंगे फोन पर, सर आपके कार का इंश्योरेंस 15 मार्च को खत्म हो रहा है, हमारे यहाँ से रिन्यू कराइए, ये ऑफर है, ये ऑफर है। हैव यू एक्सपीरियंस्ड?
यस सर।
हाउ दे डू इट? They have database, very strong database, having artificial intelligence. वो artificial intelligence, मान लीजिए एक बार आपने कहीं से करा लिया कुछ, या गूगल सर्च कर लिया, या कुछ भी कर लिया, पॉलिसी बाजार पे सर्च कर लिया, अब वो डेटा है। एक बार आप किसी वेबसाइट पर आप प्रॉपर्टी के लिए सर्च कर दीजिए, आप देखिए अगले 1 साल तक आप परेशान रहेंगे। जो ब्रोकर्स हैं वो आपको फोन करते रहेंगे, सर यहाँ पे ये प्रॉपर्टी, सर यहाँ पे ये प्रॉपर्टी, सर यहाँ पे ये प्रॉपर्टी, ये प्रोजेक्ट, वो प्रोजेक्ट। आप करके एक बार देखिए तो परेशान हो जाइएगा आप, फोन आते रहेगा। डेटाबेस, सो डेटाबेस वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड डेफिनेटली वी नीड टू कंसीडर दिस डेटाबेस एज ट्रेड सीक्रेट, and that can be a stronger form of protection. Definitely we need to have with regard to this database. we realize nowadays. But I am giving a reference of this judgment of Delhi High Court that was decided long back 1995. उसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं था, ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग वगैरह कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं था. And during that time, this kind of thing happened. Very interesting. ये केस था बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड वर्सेस रजनीश छिब्बर. ये रजनीश छिब्बर का केस था, बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. तो होम शॉपिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड का ये एम्प्लॉय था रजनीश छिब्बर. जो ये रजनीश छिब्बर था, he was employee of that Burlington Home Shopping Private Limited. बहुत दिनों तक वहाँ काम किया. और बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, उसमें कंप्यूटर जस्ट आया था अभी 1993 में. उन लोगों ने उसका इस्तेमाल शुरू किया और वो अपने कंप्यूटर में जो भी बायर्स होते थे, जो भी उनके कस्टमर्स थे, उनका लिस्ट तैयार करते थे, ताकि उनके जैसे होम डिलीवरी का था ना, या बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग, कि आप घर से फोन पे ऑर्डर कर दीजिए, आपके घर पर सामान पहुंच जाएगा. सो दे हैव कलेक्टेड नेम, एड्रेस, कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर, everything, and what kind of product they buy from this Burlington Home Shopping Private Limited. So they created or they developed a huge database. बहुत बड़ा database बना लिया. ये रजनीश छिब्बर कंपनी छोड़ता है और कंपनी छोड़ने के कुछ दिनों के बाद ये अपना उसी तरह का बिजनेस शुरू करता है, होम शॉपिंग का. तो किसका नुकसान होगा बताइए? कौन कंपटीशन हो गया? बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग सपोज करिए उस पूरे एरिया में एक अकेला इस तरह का सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है जो घर पे आपके सामानों की डिलीवरी करता है. ये 95 की बात, पहले की बात है, 94 वगैरह की बात है. तो एक नया और आ गया रजनीश छिब्बर, तो किसका लॉस होने वाला है यहाँ पे? बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग का लॉस होने वाला है. तो जरूर वो एक बार नजर दौड़ाएगा कि भाई ये कैसे ये बिजनेस कर रहा है, और धीरे धीरे उसको झटका तब लगेगा जब धीरे धीरे जो उसके पास जो लिस्ट है, उसके जो कस्टमर हैं, वो उससे सामान लेना बंद करते जाएंगे. तो जैसे ही होने लगा, ऑल ऑफ सडन द कस्टमर्स ऑफ बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड, they stopped buying products from, they stopped ordering products from Burlington Home Shopping Private Limited. अब ये उनके लिए अलार्मिंग था. अरे ये कैसे हो रहा है? Then they inquired कि अरे ये तो सेम बिजनेस रजनीश छिब्बर कर रहा है. लेकिन उनके पास ये डाउट क्रिएट हुआ कि हमारे बायर्स का सारा इंफॉर्मेशन रजनीश छिब्बर के पास कैसे गया? वो कैसे? ये तो हमारा इंफॉर्मेशन है, ये तो हमारी प्रॉपर्टी है, ये तो हमारा ट्रेड सीक्रेट है. जो हमारे बायर्स की लिस्ट है पूरी, हमारे पास डेटाबेस है. ये रजनीश छिब्बर कैसे अप्रोच कर पा रहा है? क्योंकि कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर वो तो कंपनी के पास है, किसी इंडिविजुअल के पास तो दिया नहीं गया, वो तो कंपनी की प्रॉपर्टी है. So how Rajneesh Chibbar can use that valuable database? They filed a complaint and they got a raid conducted in the premises of Rajneesh Chibbar. रजनीश छिब्बर के प्रेमाइस पर, जो बिजनेस प्रेमाइस था, उसमें एक रेड हुई. और रेड हुई तो जो कंप्यूटर वहां का था उसको कन्फिस्केट किया गया. और उस कंप्यूटर में जो एक फाइल थी, जो वो डेटाबेस था, उसको और बर्लिंगटन होम शॉपिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के डेटाबेस को कंपेयर किया गया, एनालिसिस किया गया. सो व्हेन दे कंपेयर्ड दैट कंपाइलेशन ऑफ द बिजनेस डेटा दैट वाज फाउंड sorry that was found in the computer in the device of Rajneesh Chibbar, they got surprised. They were same, no difference. The entire database of Burlington Home Shopping was stolen by this Rajneesh Chibbar. So that was the first case in India of stealing of the huge database. So both the issues were involved in this copyright in compilation, copyright and trade secret protection for compilation of the business data. So copyright protection for this business directories that we all have studied, or we all know that yes, this often extends to some kind of underlying data, and trade secret protections may also extend to particular expressive arrangement of the data. So that was a case. That was a kind of trade secret as well. Copyright was there, true, But at the same time, in that expressive arrangement of the data, that very systematically developed business data, a trade secret was also there. So in that Burlington Home